What is going on, everyone? Roadrunner here with another After Effects tutorial. Today we're going to be doing animated backgrounds. Let's get started. If you've ever seen any of my motion graphics or my very first Adobe Premiere Pro tutorial, you'll know that I do like to use animated backgrounds when I'm green screening something or just in the background for my motion graphic. Personally, I think solid backgrounds aren't always the best go-to. That's just my preference. So today we're going to be covering how to do cool textured backgrounds. So I have After Effects open up on my screen, and the first thing I'm going to do is create a new composition, and I'm just going to type in BG1. And where I always like to start is to just create a solid layer. Let's just pick a nice blue color here because I do love blue. And I'm going to change the label color to be blue. Also, one thing that is worth mentioning, if you do ever create a solid and it's not the color you want, you don't have to delete it and then create a new one. You can always come up to your effects and presets and type in fill and drag that right on there, and you can use this tool right here to repick any color you want. But for now, I like this blue color, so we're gonna stick with that. So I would definitely say one of the tools that I definitely utilize when I'm creating a background is using a ramp. So we're gonna type in ramp, and we're gonna drag and drop gradient ramp right on here. Now there are two basic kinds. There's the linear ramp, and as you can see, it's going from white to black. And there is a radial ramp where it is a circle and it goes out from there. I personally end up using the radial ramp more often unless I'm doing an animation where there's a sky, and I think the linear ramp would be better. So if you come up here, you'll notice there are a start of ramp and end of ramp color. We're just gonna go ahead and change one of these to be, a lighter blue. And we're gonna change the end of ramp to be, just a little bit darker blue. So you'll notice it goes from dark to light. And if you're ever wondering, well, what if I want to change this? You can always click here and you'll notice the start of ramp value changing here. So you can always just move this around until it looks okay. You can always move this one around. This is the end of ramp. But for a lot of my backgrounds, I do like to do a radial ramp, and I like to take the start of ramp and I like to center it right here. And I like to take the end of ramp and I like to put it right about here. Now this circle here is pretty noticeable. We really want to balance that out so it's not that noticeable. So I'm going to come over here to end of ramp, and I'm just going to change the Y value. And you notice this circle down here is going out of the frame. And there you go. You've got a nice ramp. For projects like my video resume that you can see here, I did end up using just a radial ramp background for this. However, if you've seen my very first tutorial video, you'll notice that I did something a little bit more extra, as most people would call it. So there are so many variations, and another thing that I definitely like to add on here is I go over to my effects and presets and I type in Fractal, and I'm gonna drag and drop Fractal noise on here. Now you're probably wondering, whoa, where did my awesome gradient go? And it's actually right here, so if you drag this below the Fractal noise, it will come back. However, we're gonna keep it at the top of our effects control panel. We're going to close that down. And if you'd like to see it, you can always change the opacity down a little bit, and you'll start to notice it as it gets closer to 0. Or you can use blending modes just like you would use here or in Photoshop or Premiere. So just play with these. There's so many options of what to do. I personally love using soft light. And now you can see both the fractal noise with the radial ramp in the underneath it. So you can actually come up here, and if you go to fractal type, there are also a lot of different options here, threads, strings. And I would definitely say take the time and play with these. There are so many options and so many variations of how you can change your background. And you can always invert it right here, so you see how the lighter spots are here and then the darker spots are there. You can always invert it. And Rocky is a cool one too. Now when I use smeary, it definitely looks like the bottom of the ocean a little bit. And this is definitely a cool fractal type that I have used in a lot of my previous videos. And before we finish up today's tutorial, feel free to hit the subscribe button and the little bell icon to get notified when I post new content. Also, check out my gear list in the description. So you're probably wondering, wow, this is a pretty cool graphic, but it's not moving. This is pretty boring, Ryan. So there's so many ways you can animate this. Now if you go over here to evolution and you just change this value, you'll notice these will start to move. So you could, in theory, you could create a keyframe and, change the speed of it. However, for me, what I really like to do is alt-click on evolution, and I like to use an expression here. So what we're going to do is type in time times 20. And now you'll notice if I scroll through here that this is animating a little bit. Now this is something I would definitely not go over the top and animate really fast because it could become distracting, but if you do it to an amount that's just hardly noticeable, it will definitely give your motion graphics or your background a little bit of character to it that keeps it engaging. So I'm going to go ahead and play this, and this is what this looks like. So personally, I do really like this right now. However, I do think that it does move a little bit too fast. So I'm actually going to change this time times to 15, and that will look much better. A little bit slower, so I do like that. And if, for whatever reason, if I think this effect is a little bit too strong, I can definitely turn down the opacity to 50% or so, and it's just a little less noticeable, and you'll get a little bit more of the gradient ramp underneath it. So the easiest way to create an animated background is going to Effects and Presets, going to your Animation preset, and there is an entire folder dedicated to just backgrounds. So I would definitely take the time to play with these. This one is Germs. And you'll notice here that it is a preset that gives you all of the effects that were used to build this preset, fractal noise being one of them. Thank you so much for joining me for another After Effects tutorial. This was the quickest and easy way to animate a background. Feel free to click subscribe and comment down below what you'd like to see in future tutorials. Thanks so much. Take it easy.